Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at something a little different.
Oh,
Yeah, we're going to be diving into the acknowledgments of a book.
okay.
And the book is called The Declaration of Interdependence,
Uh-huh.
How We Can Live a Life of Love, Infinity, and Integrity.
Interesting.
Now, you might be thinking,
Acknowledgements.
acknowledgments, really?
Yeah.
But trust me on this one.
Okay.
It's like we get a behind-the-scenes peek at how the book was made and what's really at the heart of it.
Yeah, acknowledgements can really be insightful. You can see the author's personal stories and what inspired them and who they worked with.
Exactly.
I think it really gives us a glimpse into their motivations.
Yeah, for sure. And in this case, the authors, Terry Sanders and Chad Steele, they give us some really interesting clues about their vision for this book.
What really jumped out at you from Terry's part?
Well, he starts off by sharing this really powerful dream that he had back in 2010,
Okay.
and it was during the winter solstice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was like a time for new beginnings.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, perfect timing for a vision.
Right. And in the dream, he saw a world where everyone felt seen and appreciated.
For who they are.
Yeah, like for exactly who they are and for what they contribute to the world.
I like that.
And he uses this interesting phrase.
Okay, what is it?
He talks about this fractal model.
A fractal model.
Yeah, and that it exists infinitely inward and infinitely outward.
So it's not just about appreciating yourself or other people, but this universal connection.
That's it.
Wow.
And he links this idea directly to the title of the book, The Declaration of Interdependence.
So it's about moving away from me and focusing more on we, love, infinity, and integrity.
Yeah.
Those seem to be the core values here.
And here's the really interesting part.
Okay.
He uses a word that he came up with. Fractegrity.
Fractegrity.
Yeah, and he says that he's going to explain more about it in the first chapter.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's like he's giving us a little taste.
A little challenge.
Yeah, to make us want to read more.
All right, now before we jump ahead to the first chapter,
Yeah.
what about Chad's acknowledgments? What did you find interesting there?
Well, Chad brings something called the infinity principle to the book.
Okay. And what is the infinity principle?
He describes it as like a tool for personal growth, like a way of understanding and improving our values.
Okay.
It's all about how to live a more fulfilling life, which goes really well with Terry's vision, don't you think?
For sure. It's they're both going for the same goal, but from different directions,
Totally. And so get this.
Okay.
Chad says that happiness is like a ratio.
A ratio.
Yeah, appreciation divided by expectation.
Hold on. You're saying there's a mathematical formula for happiness?
Well, he says that you can actually increase your happiness more by lowering your expectations than by increasing your appreciation.
Wait, so you're saying that wanting less can make you happier?
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Right. It kind of goes against what we normally think.
Definitely.
He uses this great example.
Imagine you're stuck in traffic.
I know that feeling.
Instead of getting all frustrated, he says we should try to shift our thinking to what we appreciate.
Okay. How do you do that?
Well, so instead of thinking, I shouldn't be stuck here, you think, well, at least I'm on my way to somewhere important. Or, hey, I'm grateful that I even have a car.
That's actually a pretty cool way to look at it.
Yeah, and he's saying that even that small change in how we think about things can have a big impact on how happy we are overall.
So if we can manage our expectations,
Yeah.
we can feel more joy and be more content even when things aren't perfect.
Right.
I'm starting to see how this connects to the themes of love, infinity, and integrity.
Me too. And this is only the beginning. There's way more to the infinity principle.
You've definitely got me curious. Let's dig a little deeper.
Okay, sounds good.
This infinity principle, it really has me thinking.
What's on your mind?
Well, it seems like it's not just about positive thinking, It's about understanding how our brains actually work.
Yeah, Chad talks about some really interesting neuroscience stuff in the acknowledgments.
Oh, yeah.
He explains that our brains are always comparing things and calculating ratios.
So they're looking at probabilities instead of absolutes.
Right. And because of that, the way we see reality and how happy we feel is always being shaped by these calculations that are happening in our heads.
That makes sense.
Then he makes this really bold statement.
What's that?
He says that we should be going after values, not valuables.
Values, not valuables.
Yeah, so many times we chase after things on the outside,
Possessions, achievement, status.
Exactly. And we think that those things are going to make us happy.
Right.
But Chad's saying that true happiness comes from living in a way that matches up with our core values.
So how does the infinity principle fit into all of this?
Well, that's where it comes in. It gives us a way to understand how our expectations actually affect our happiness.
Okay. I'm following you.
He even has this equation to show what he means.
Okay, what is it?
It's appreciation divided by expectation equals happiness.
Okay, I'm a visual learner. Can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's say your appreciation is at like a 30 and your expectation is at a 10.
All right.
So according to the equation, your happiness would be a 3.
Okay, that makes sense.
Not too bad,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now here's where it gets interesting. Let's say you try to increase your appreciation, like you add 4 points to it.
So it's up to 34 now.
Yeah. So your happiness would go up a little bit to like 3.4.
Okay, small increase.
But what if instead of adding to your appreciation, you took away 4 points from your expectation?
What would happen then?
Suddenly your happiness would jump all the way up to 5.
Wow.
So lowering your expectations has a much bigger effect than trying to increase your appreciation.
So sometimes wanting less can actually make you happier.
It's like math proves it.
That's wild. And how does neuroscience play into all of this?
Well, Chad says that when our expectations get close to 0, our brains experience something similar to bliss.
Bliss.
Think about times when you've felt really happy. Those moments often happen when we're not expecting them.
Yeah.
You know, when we're not attached to a certain outcome.
Yeah, that's true.
Like when you're totally present in the moment and not worrying about the future.
I get it.
And Chad points out that this is why just focusing on positive thinking can sometimes not be enough.
Really, why is that?
Well, if we're always trying to increase the good things, we might accidentally raise our expectations too, which means we never actually feel content.
It's like we're always chasing something.
Exactly. So what I'm getting from all of this is that true happiness comes from finding a balance between appreciating what we have and keeping our expectations in check.
It's about shifting our focus from wanting more to valuing what we already have.
And that message really fits with the overall themes of the book, interdependence, love, infinity, and integrity.
If we can learn to appreciate what we have and let go of unrealistic expectations, we can create a happier life for ourselves and a more peaceful world around us.
It's amazing how much we've learned just from these acknowledgments.
I know, right?
It's making me think differently about how I read and even how I live my life.
It reminds us that there's a human story behind every book and every idea.
Yeah.
And those stories can teach us so much.
I think we should take a break here and let all of this sink in for a bit.
Sounds good. We've covered a lot of ground, but we're not done yet.
Yeah. There's still more to uncover in the Declaration of Interdependence.